Hello, everyone. I'm happy we are back. And today we have a very lovely topic, which is meditation, contemplation. It's like the core of basically all the spiritual traditions have a kind of a contemplative practice. And it's the way how to transcend, which means to loosen up the identification and actually include and go beyond the certain structures or identifications that I call me or my life today. And so it's a meditation, of course, is a huge science, and it's, as I said, the core of all the contemplative traditions around the world. So that's a pretty big topic, but we will see to bring it down to the most essential points in my understanding, or some of the most essential points that I think can be a lifelong companion for our path, and that there is a beauty and a sweetness. And if we read some of the major writings in the spiritual traditions, we see that when the saints and the sages really touched a deeper transcendental or transpersonal dimension, there's a it's like as if we are falling in love with the divine more and more, and that there is a consumption, like the divine starts to consume us, and in different ways. So let's have a look how we can be consumed by the divine, and how this can enrich our life, and literally in many, many ways. And what more could we do than to do a meditation? So let's sit back and dive into a meditation at the beginning, and then we talk a little bit about the anatomy or the science of meditation, and then we can have some of the burning questions around our practice. So if you sit back and you just allow your breath to take you deeper into your body, and to see that the most basic form of meditation is an aware listening. So as you're listening to these words that you hear right now, as you're listening to body sensations that pop up and disappear, the most fundamental art of meditation is already there. It's sitting with awareness, listening with awareness. And as we said already in this course, when we listen, we become space. Conscious listening always creates a deeper inner space. And so I am space, I'm listening, and I am aware of movements in my body, my breath, aliveness, body posture. And I can watch how the inner space deepens, my quality of listening deepens. And I can watch the sensations in my body. The beauty of the movement of life. I can watch my own movement. I'm continuously changing. That everything I feel, I touch, I hear, I see is changing. And I'm listening. Besides my body sensations, emotions might arise and leave. Tensions in my body might arise and leave. Thoughts arise and they leave. And I'm still listening into the movement. And as I sit and I listen to the movement of life, everything that I perceive, that I think, that I feel, I can also point my listening towards listening itself. I can listen into the inner space. I can be mindful of the listener, the depth of listening itself. I listen into listening. I listen into my availability, my here-ness, into depth, presence, inner space, stillness. I listen into stillness. To keep listening into the depth of inner presence. It's like there's awareness and the deepening inner space. Movements arise and leave in the background. But I'm literally listening into listening. And I can sense and hear like the timelessness of presence. There's a timeless quality. Movement creates time. Witnessing is timeless. As the witness, I'm always here. As the witness, I am listening. And slowly feel the body a bit more and take a breath and feel the body even more. To keep this sense of space. Space is like fresh air into my life. Space is it's like an open door to the garden, into my house. So let's come back and keep the spaciousness as a kind of a background to our talk and our module today. So as I said, space, inner witnessing is a kind of it's like the fresh air that comes into my life through the air conditioning system. The air condition brings in air from the outside, and the witnessing allows my future, which is the higher consciousness, to enter my life. And in the meditation practice, we want to, and that's what we said from the beginning, we want to install like an air-conditioned system in our life, which means here is my life, and my life is a stream. We called it the river of our intelligence. We called it that I'm swimming actually in the river of my intelligence. And we said that my soul's energy is connected to the divine expression, so to the movement. And different levels of movement create time. So as movement, I have a sense of time. Things are happening, there's a before, there's an after. And I'm becoming something. And in different intensities of life, we have a different perception of time. Sometimes things take very long, and sometimes we get even impatient and we are waiting. And sometimes things happen very fast and quickly, and we have the feeling that time passes like nothing. But in the stillness, I am before space and time. True stillness is before space and time, and it's also through space and time and movement. And a regular meditation practice, and I'm sure many of us have already, even before this course, we had a longer meditation practice. Some of us started, and we just start practicing. But wherever we start from, meditation is fresh air. And why it's fresh air? Because everything that is fully on my camera, I cannot see, because I'm looking through it, and I call it me. As long as my body and my emotions and my thoughts are fully me, it's like I'm so identified with it that I cannot even sufficiently watch it, because it's so me. Every thought that I think is me. The more I practice awareness through listening, and I listen to the process of my experience, suddenly I see here and there like small windows open, and suddenly I can watch my structure. I can watch my feelings, I can watch my body, I can watch my thoughts, but actually something's watching them. So what actually watches my thoughts? What is actually aware of my thinking process? And whenever I ask myself, what is aware of me, I'm already increasing my witnessing. I'm increasing my listening. I'm increasing inner space. And we will talk about two forms of meditation today. And in the witnessing meditation, I am increasing the depth, and it starts usually with a feeling of expansion, so that my body, that the contour of my body is not anymore as fixed. When I become more still, suddenly there is kind of an inner expansion into a space, inner space. And the inner space is already more quiet, so I'm not so much busy with my thinking process. And eventually, if I keep listening to the spaciousness, it intensifies. It intensifies. Sometimes it's even like as if the hemispheres of my brain are melting and the night sky is descending. It means there's a silence that comes in, and it silences my interior. And so from a beginning sense of space, and when I listen to that, I intensify the inner spaciousness into like more and more of a burning, presence. Space has an expansion. The burning presence doesn't. The burning presence is a sense of here-ness. In the burning presence, I'm so here that it feels like the whole magnetism of the universe meets in one point. So I'm very much magnetized into stillness, but there's an incredibly strong, present here-ness that is beyond expansion, that is beyond perception. So I'm resting in a deep meditation in and as that magnetic presence, so that often my sense of my body, my sense of my feelings, thoughts go to rest. And there is a very deep, silent isness where I'm just here. Like literally, my whole subtle awareness goes to rest. And I'm still here, but I'm not here as my structure, as my perceptions, my feelings. I'm here as awareness itself. And so in my meditative journey, there is the witnessing meditation ultimately takes me first through the subtle stillness into what we called at the beginning of the course causal presence or causal awareness. And causal means it's empty of any kind of perceptions. Causal state is just a burning presence that is empty of feelings, of things that I think, of even insights. That's empty of me as I know myself in the world. Therefore, some traditions call it the face before my face in space and time, or my original face. My original face is before I was born, because everything that's born is energy, as we said. Everything that's born is something that I can feel, name, taste, see, touch, even if it's a subtle touch. But before I was born, I am here. And so witnessing meditation as a regular meditation practice is showing me the way into this incredibly beautiful present state. The state out of which worlds are being born. It's the most creative isness because all the possibilities go to rest in it. So when I drop into a deep meditation, my possibility goes to rest in awareness itself. And there's just quiet. When I come back out of this meditation, one possibility out of many gets reborn. So I come back and I feel refreshed. So often when we drop into deep meditation, even if it's just for a short while, whenever I stop meditating as my sitting practice, I feel refreshed. Why? Because I was resting in the most creative space that there is, and I return into my regular sense of self, or my mostly separate sense of self. And so therefore, there is the deeper meditation, if I do it regularly in my life, it adds to my regeneration. It adds to me living a more balanced life between activity and receptivity. It literally nourishes my substance and my energy. And I have a resource to literally watch my process so that I can see, wow, everything that Thomas consists out of is a process of movement. It's a moving process of different patterns, energies, inspirations, thoughts, feelings, body sensations. It's like the piece of paper, we said it once, witnessing awareness is the paper that the text is written on. And usually when we read books, we look at the letters, we look at the meaning of the letters, and the meaning of the story becomes alive in me. So when I read a book, the meaning of the letters becomes alive in me. So I look at the experience of the meaning of the letters. But rarely we stay present with the fact that we continuously, as we read a book, we watch paper. And the same thing is in meditation. I constantly read the letters of the text of life. At the beginning, it's an experience. The more I practice, I see more and more the meaning of this experience until I start seeing the energetic code or the letters of the experience. And suddenly I realize, wow, I'm looking at awareness as awareness. So there is awareness, and the whole experience, the inner and the outer experience, is held in ever-present awareness, which is the deepest place in your heart, the deepest place in my heart, is ever-present witnessing, is the space of consciousness. The good thing is that we also call the space of presence not knowing. Because in the space of presence, I literally don't know, because my mind has a rest. My separate mind is resting. I'm not bound to my thinking process, and it's resting. And then there is a sense of innocence, and a sense of stillness, and a sense of witnessing and not knowing. In the witnessing and not knowing, in witnessing and not knowing, I'm also space for inspiration. And more than that, when I dive into the causal space or the deep emptiness in the meditation, I'm resting in the most creative state that there is, because it's full of all the possibilities, all the universes, all the lifetimes. And from there we are emerging again and again and again. So my life gets enriched because, as I said, my life is a stream. And one could say my life is like a corridor. And meditation is another corridor besides my main corridor. So my life is walking in the corridor of my life. And witnessing consciousness creates actually a bigger space of witnessing around the corridor of my life, the river of my life. And therefore, through the corridor, there's always a possibility of fresh air. It's like the air condition system that brings in something new. When I have a strong conflict and I'm not disassociated, and I am witnessing my own process, it's the chance for a new insight to come in, something that I say, that I do, that I suddenly realize about the situation, that I didn't know before. So witnessing awareness is not just that I'm not fully identified only with the situation. I also give a space for new things to come in. The not knowing is the gate for knowing. And the Tao of the King is full of small phrases that speak to the not knowing, how important not knowing is, which doesn't mean that everything that I know is bad or is not relevant. It's very relevant because I need to know a lot about the world if I'm not just bound to the relative knowledge that I have. Because all I know today about the world will need to be updated by what I will know tomorrow and in 1 year. But not knowing is a constant stream of possibility that enriches and refreshes my life. And I believe for real innovation and real kind of leading edge innovation, we need this kind of inner space. And so one part of our meditation practice, as we introduced it, to every day give at least half an hour to just sit in silence and listen. And listen with awareness is opening a window into the face, my original face, or the ever-present witness, before my life was born. And that's, I think, this should be the foundation of our meditative practice, because even if it sometimes doesn't look that way, but the meditative practice for some people opens in kind of big satoris or big explosions. Suddenly we have breakthroughs into kind of a higher consciousness. But for many people, doing meditation regularly is deepening something in the background, But over time, I see that, wow, something really changed. I'm more focused. I'm more present in challenging situations. I'm not checking out that often. I'm more able to contain situations without getting reactive. I'm clearer. I'm not so bound to my mental process. I'm not so bound to my emotional reactivity. And I hear myself say things that surprise me. So suddenly I say something and I feel surprised by what I said. Because not knowing opens the gate for knowing. But not knowing not just opens the gate for what my rational mind knows because it read it in books or somewhere else, but not knowing opens the gate for transpersonal information to come through. So therefore, meditation is such an amazing practice to bring in inner guidance. We called it, it's also in my daily life when I walk outside on the street or if I talk to someone, and this meditative inner space is being kept or it's established enough that I don't forget it when I'm active, it becomes an amazing source of inspiration. It's like this window on your desktop that's never full or filled by the programs that you open. If you imagine your desktop and whatever program you open, this space always stays clear, empty. And it's for the cosmic internet to download information. So you work on your computer and suddenly you see in this empty window information that doesn't come just from the learned knowledge. And that's incredibly helpful, and we talked about inner guidance already. And so meditation has the effect that it shows me literally a transpersonal witnessing, and if I practice it in my daily meditation practice, and then I practice it as well with every step that I do, I'm more and more witnessing my own actions, witnessing my own speaking, thinking, feeling. So there is a growing presence. It's a growing unformed presence. And this is not just, it seems like it's a subjective presence because it seems to happen in me, but actually it's a very contagious thing. It's viral. Because if I'm resting in a state of presence, it's continuously radiating. Presence is inviting presence. And so if I live in a deeper state of presence, that's a continuous invitation for everyone that meets me to become more present, to be more grounded in the current moment, to be more magnetized, because what is magnetized? Energy. Because most of the time we are identified with feelings, thoughts, body sensations, experiences. But we saw already that when we experience something, we experience energy. These are just perceptions. And so in presence, they get magnetized into the moment. And I think every one of us knows this. If we are very busy with something and suddenly we meet somebody who is really there, so we are also more here. Why? Because the magnetic aspect of consciousness magnetizes energy into the current moment. So with someone very present, it's very hard to be unpresent because it's like a magnet. Presence is a deep magnet. And it magnetizes energy into the current moment. So not only it's very beneficial for my life, but it's also radiating. And so when I walk throughout my day and I do what I do every day, presence radiates around me and invites my social environment into presence. And if I manage to stay in an inner state of presence, I will see my life will be held more and more inside and outside in that presence, which is a very beautiful process. And I'm sure that people will pick up on that. People can feel this if somebody is centered, grounded in presence, not so easily reactive, more and more coming with spontaneous, emergent, fresh answers instead of the same things that we say again and again and again. We are more surprising. So literally there are many effects that are kind of long-term effects. They are not coming from one day to another, but they grow. They grow in the background of my practice, usually. So therefore it's very good to see meditation not only as a short-term effect or a short-term success, but literally as for the rest of my life. From today to the rest of all days, to the rest of all my lives. That's a deep companion. And within that presence, as I said, it's an invitation for more presence. Also, the course of my life is changing a bit. Because if I'm not so reactive, I'm more inclusive of other people, challenging situations transform easier into creative situations than into destructive situations. Challenges I will be more willing to be in challenges, and therefore I will find the pearl in them more. And I will live in a more kind of sustainable lifestyle, because as we said, in deep presence, my whole energy system regenerates. It's like when we go to sleep. Why sleep is so good for healing? Because it invites the whole system to regenerate and to fill up its substance, so that life energy will be turned into substance, and life has more substance. And that's a very beautiful process. The other thing is also that in the meditation practice, and I think we said this as well, and that's good not to forget that even if I sit and for half an hour or for an hour I'm sitting and I'm just processing unresolved energy, I'm thinking of things that I should have done or that I want to do or that are very good to be done or that I suppressed and that I'm angry about suppressing it, things that I didn't say, I wasn't fully honest. So all the energy that is actually left over will push into my awareness as when I'm sitting quietly. So for some time I might have this kind of busy meditative times, but even if that's the case, it was great because it helped me to take an inner shower. It helped me to clarify my psychological functions and to refresh them. Which means if I'm not so busy through the leftover energy, I'm more focused with my life. So it adds to my concentration. It adds to my, like the brilliance of my experience. It's like after a rainy day, when the sun comes through, everything looks fresh, washed. So even if I had a busy meditation, it also changes my day a bit. So we have already two, it's like a win-win. If I have a very quiet meditation, it's great. If I have a busy meditation, it's also great. So why not to meditate? And now we were talking about a meditative practice that is designed to deepen space, listening, and eventually show me something beyond the subtle world, which is what we call in the spiritual traditions the causal world, or a deep, deep, unformed presence. And then there is another meditation that I want to do with you more towards the end of this session. So we will do our session, and at the end of the session we will do another meditation, which, and we talked about this as well, is meditating on or contemplating on subtle energy. And I can sit when I have a day that is where I experience something that troubles me, when I have a free moment in the train or in the airport or at home before I go to sleep. I can literally sit and tune in with the disturbance, give a space to it, like listen to it, but also listen with attunement and find out more about it. Let it talk to me. Let the disturbance, I really dedicate myself to challenging and disturbing moments in order to learn from them, to learn afterwards. And I can contemplate, for example, my body when people do yoga or Tai Chi or any kind of body meditations. It's actually a contemplation on the physical energy, on the etheric energy. It's a contemplation on emotional energy. So I can use every level of my being to contemplate the content and the energy of every level and transcend it through contemplating it. But I can also do the same thing with an object or a plant or anything around me, because the table, even my computer or a plant, many people like it more with organic material, so I can literally start to resonate, attune to a plant and feel it, and it starts a communication until it's not anymore so clear who communicates with whom. I communicate with the plant communicates with me, and there is a deeper and deeper relation, and eventually we drop into a state that it feels even not separate anymore. The plant and me merge into a new state. And that's where I understand the essence of the plant. But the same thing I can do with another human being. I can literally meditate and contemplate a human being and deepen my understanding, my compassion, and eventually come into a very close connection. Some people do this in their sexuality, that they use sexuality as a kind of a contemplative way to transcend the separation and dive into like a deeper unification. And so one other way to use subtle meditation is that we start to meditate on a vertical like pillar or alignment of energy, which means usually that we start to activate our higher functions, which means our third eye and our crown, and that we learn to connect to our potential transpersonal dimensions, which some people in some traditions call it soul. In other traditions it's called my higher self or my higher selves. There are different levels to it. Some people call it meditation on light, because the soul is often experienced as a kind of an inner light. And so the vertical pillar of meditating, and we talked about this a bit already, is kind of my river, is my future. The higher light is also my future that I can grow into. And so we will do at the more towards the end of this session, we will do a meditation again to connect to the higher light in order to speed up my spiritual evolution. Because evolution is movement, and evolution is usually perceived as coming from the past, going towards the future. But why not to have the future invite us? Why not to get an invitation from the future to become it? Or to have the future pull me into a higher version of myself. And so when we start the meditation on lights, and we do this regularly, we will literally open some higher spiritual facilities or functions, and first of all truly understand what's the soul, and then the soul is in a way a ladder between the person and the divine. The higher self is a ladder that helps us to walk from the person through the soul or the higher self into the realm of the divine creation. And what this adds in combination with the presence meditation is that light is also on the wave of the light. Information is riding, which means that when I meditate on light, I can have a lot of insights. Meditation on light is first of all raising my own vibration. So if I do it regularly, I literally update my life voluntarily. It will have the side effect that it triggers unconscious material, because light is conscious awareness, and wherever my energy field is disassociated or split off or fragmented, so with the light meditation I will have a higher awareness also of my fragmentation. Therefore it's so important when I do this, I know that one of the effects is that more shadow will knock on my door. And therefore, I need a good shadow work as a parallel practice to not be one day flooded by my shadow material, which means I might feel more discomfort, I might feel more tension in my body for some time, I might feel that more stuff starts moving or people trigger more stuff in me because I'm becoming more aware of myself. But that's a beautiful process because this helps me to literally integrate my life more and live a fuller life. So the second meditation that I want to point towards is the meditation that we call, like, it's a kind of a ladder. It's a process of moving from my daily consciousness as a human being and as a person, and to activate my higher facilities or spiritual capacities, which come often with a growing intuition, a growing kind of feeling of inner guidance, a growing knowing that suddenly I know things. Suddenly I listen to somebody and suddenly I know something, or in certain moment the right information comes to me at the right time. And another thing is that I feel more and more, in more and more moments, I feel that I'm in a higher synchronicity or coherence with life. The right person, I'm sure you know this from certain times, that the right person turns up in the right moment, the phone rings exactly when you feel it, and the person tells you whatever you need to know in the moment to solve something else. Money comes for projects at the right time. It feels like suddenly we are more and more in a higher flow. And the higher flow is that my whole energy field jumps to a higher coherence. And suddenly I feel more in tune, synced up with life. And that's a beautiful process, because then suddenly things go very easy sometimes, or for sometimes we are in a brilliant flow with everything. So that's something that we can also induce through a regular higher consciousness practice. And for people that are interested in a description around these higher states, I think one of the descriptions that are there are more, of course, but one is from Sri Aurobindo, which was a saint in India, and he left the integral yoga practice, or the integral yoga path, and he describes his experience of the higher states of mind, as he calls it. That's like a higher mind, an intuitive mind, an over mind, a super mind. And so how he experienced his own awakening in different levels of light intensities, but also higher functions of thinking, of recognition, of revelations, of insights, and eventually merging into the divine mind, so that my mind is not separate anymore from the Buddha mind or the divine mind, and like the drop fell into the ocean and the divine mind is. So one aspect of an enlightenment moment or an coherent enlightenment is that my mind and the mind of God become one. There is no separation, so it's not two. And one way how to attain that is, for example, to move up the ladder regularly. And of course, like there are people who do this as a full-time job. They are called yogis in the Himalayan mountains, monks in some Tibetan monasteries or in other monasteries. So people who dedicate a lot of their time for the meditation practice, or to the meditation practice. And that's something that, of course, is in our hands now. So how much time do I want to invest in becoming a professional? Because ultimately, of course, meditation is something that we surrender to, but the ability to surrender to it often comes with the experience of many hours of meditation and literally refining my life to merge into life itself. And so my suggestion is kind of a multi-level program or practice, which means that I have a regular daily meditation practice. And the regular daily meditation practice might mean, for example, that I sit at least half an hour every morning, or I sit half an hour in the morning, and sometimes when I have time in the evening. And then in phases where in my life I have more time, I can increase that to maybe 1 hour. So that there is a continuous window. This is the corridor besides my corridor. If you see in the new browsers on our laptops, when you see you have multiple pages open, or you imagine many papers in a 3D animation. So you see many papers, but besides the papers there is a corridor. And so you can access every paper from a corridor from the side. And that's what my meditation practice also, like windows. Every day has a window in the morning, and fresh air can come into my day. And every paper is a day. And so every day there is a fresh air. If I experience it like that or not, doesn't matter. So the regular meditation practice installs the air condition system that brings fresh air into my days. And then I have this as a motivation to live a more mindful day, like to live a day that is where I practice mindfulness in a listening, in a space, in a presence, as often as I can, in as many life situations as I can. So it becomes my daily in-life practice. And this strengthens the witnessing, it strengthens my feeling of being centered, and whatever we said, everything that we said before. So the one practice is the daily practice. And some people mix it, say, no, I practice mindfulness anyway every moment. But it's not the same thing. It's a different quality that I train, although ultimately it's the same. But throughout my spiritual practice, the regular sitting practice fulfills a bit something else than living a mindful life, although it's very similar. And besides the moment-to-moment practices, which includes that sometimes during the day, I just take a minute. Like now, we take a minute of silence. And I can ground myself. I can consciously witness whatever is going on in me right now. I can reconnect to and listen into inner space. I can even just take a moment and see if there's anything, any kind of inner guidance or higher inspiration that cannot come in if I'm too busy. But when I'm silent and I listen, maybe if there is something that I need to know, I listen. And then I just and just go and continue my day. So as we see in a minute, I can literally refresh my whole energy, become quiet, presence my process, listen to my inspiration, and continue my day. It's a very short thing that whenever I wait somewhere, whenever I sit in a coffee shop and I'm waiting for the person that I meet, or I just walk outside, there are many kind of intermediate moments that can be a perfect time for a short check-in and for my spiritual practice. And one moment like this, or I write emails and I sit and I feel how my energy starts accumulating in my mental level, and then I just take a minute, I ground it, I bring the energy back down into my base, I listen to stillness, and then I continue my day. So if I do this regularly, there are small moments of refreshment, and that's very helpful. So number one was the regular meditation practice. Number two is the mindful way of living and the moment-to-moment practice, like we said now. And the third thing is, and that's of course something that everybody needs to be motivated for to do, but it's very helpful to have from time to time like boosts of meditation, which we call usually meditation retreats or some multi-day meditative periods, even alone. But that I have some time in the year that is a kind of a window for the whole year. That I take some days off and I just sit and invest my time into deepening of my practice. And the three possibilities, they look similar, they also fulfill similar functions, but they are not really the same thing. And I believe that if I have all the three in my life, then I can say I really have a sufficient meditation practice, because the boost of meditation when I sit for 5 days or I sit for 10 days, it's a difference. It's somehow we create a certain intensity that we usually are not able to create even through living a mindful life in daily life. Because usually it needs very highly skilled meditation practitioners to live in a constant intensity that maybe equals what we touch in a deep meditation retreat. And so before we go into Q&As, and at the end of the call we will do another meditation together, I would love to have a short round of interaction so that you can go to a triad, and I will give Michelle first the possibility to tell you the technical details, and then I will tell you what to do in the triad. Okay, Michelle?
Okay, great. So if you need to press 2 to opt out for any reason, this is the time to do it. For those on the video cast, please come on over if you'd like to join in the triad. And Thomas, I'll hand it back over to you for the details.
Great. So when you listen to everything that I said until now, and you look at your own meditation practice, and you tune in for a moment, okay, when I feel my meditative and contemplative practice, do I feel that it's in place, that it's aligned with who I am? and that I feel congruent when I ask my heart, do I have a congruent practice that equals my being? Or do I feel that my practice is actually reduced and I'm not fully matching what I need? Like, let's say my soul needs and my spirit needs are not being met. Maybe I meet my physical needs and my emotional needs and my mental and cognitive needs, my social needs, but I'm not meeting my soul and spirit needs, which means the food that I need for my spiritual life. Or I do meet them and I feel, yeah, I feel content. At the moment, I feel content. And so when you tune in and you feel, okay, is there something that needs to be added? What would you wish for more in your life? What might be the reason why it's not there? And if you feel content to, also as an inspiration to share with your partners how it looks like your life and you feeling content and your practice, so that we can learn from each other and through listening to each other. But when you speak about your meditation practice, I hear your personal experience of it, but of course, I want to constantly study life, and as you speak about your meditation practice, I want to feel, tune in, and read in the book of life something about meditation. Why would we share about meditation and learn something new? So your energy field actually tells me a lot about meditation while you speak about meditation. And so that's my invitation, that of course we are listening to each other's personal life experiences, but as mystical listening and mystical practice, we use the triad also for recognition, for insights. And when I listen to you, I can get insights about your meditation practice. What's the transmission when you speak about meditation? What do I feel? What do I sense? Can I sense your experience in while you speak? And so then it's interesting, because then I listen and I learn from whatever the wisdom that you already in a way incorporated into your life. I can learn from it through attunement. So that's my invitation, 3 minutes each, and to talk about the meditation, your meditation process, and then we will come back and have some time for questions. Great, so let's see what are questions that are or statements that are in the field that you want to bring in, and let's explore more through the questions before we do a final meditation.
All right, let's start with Anne. Anne, you have the mic.
Okay, hi.
Hello.
My question is that I don't feel a strong, shall I say, urging to set up a daily meditation practice. I've had a very spiritual focus for as long as I can remember in my life. I have friends who say it makes a big difference to them when they do meditate in the morning and when they don't. They can really tell the difference in my day. And I can't say that I really do. So there's just kind of a puzzlement in me about that.
So how did you find out that you don't? So you did it for some time and you feel that it didn't improve your day? That's what you're saying?
Well, not like I did it every day for a week and then I didn't. It's just, there's just no obvious difference. When sometimes I'll spend some time meditating in the morning, and then some days I won't. I love it when I go in there, but my day isn't different. I don't feel different afterwards.
Right. I mean, as I said before, usually the effect of meditation is not like it's not usually a short-term effect. So it doesn't mean that if it doesn't work like, okay, today I sit and today my day will be better. This might be like this.
I mean, I've had, yeah.
But usually what happens is that through the regular meditation practice, there is something building up. There's a kind of a deeper sense of connectedness, of stillness, of presence, of clarity building up. But this might be, over the course of years, literally put my life into a different space. That's what I mainly mean. It might affect on a shorter term level my life, but this also might not happen. So that's not an indicator for like success, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more looking at the long-term effect of meditation. What's the container that I build, and also what's the higher level of resolution that I'm able to perceive life with, which means that often through a meditation practice, more and more the details of life are appearing more presently in the space. So I'm becoming more mindful of small details as well that I didn't see or haven't been aware of before. So this, as I said, this might be very subtle changes, and that's the improvement that I might experience. And for some people, it's literally when they sit, they feel better, and when they don't sit, they don't feel better throughout the day. So that's, and the last thing that I have to say is that ultimately, the mystical practice of meditation is actually not really interested if I feel better or not in my day, or if I feel an effect of it or not in my day. The mystical practice of meditation is absolutely directed towards enlightenment or God, and it's designed to prepare me for a kind of an awakening. And that's another, in a way, motivation or possibility that my meditative practice gives me a breakthrough, potentially a breakthrough, into like a very high transpersonal dimension. And for some people it might come, even without meditation. There are some people that they live a very normal life and suddenly boom, and there it is.
I've heard the stories.
Yeah. So tell me what you
sounds like.
What do you feel?
Well, I guess what I'm mainly conscious of thinking is that it kind of involves some trust on my part that there's more than my thinking that it has value and everything. Just to drop into not trying to think about it so much and just do it.
Right. Right.
See how it is over time, and let the impatience of wanting results right away just kind of settle down a bit and trust that this is a long haul thing. Right.
Right. And I think that's the way how to approach meditation. And still, I mean, I don't know if I said this already in this course, I forgot already that we had once a study around meditation in our 3-year training program, and we went to MRIs and hooked up with the EEG, and it literally was that people who, even beginners that did it regularly for 1 year, you could see a significant improvement in the brain checks. So
yeah, I've seen studies like that. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a matter of finding the motivation to do it.
Right.
To be regular, to discipline myself, or whatever it's called. You know, like how I can sort of say, well, what's the matter with me? I can't make myself do this. I can't inspire myself to do it. You know, it's like, how do I do this?
Right. And one
Building a habit.
Right. One motivation comes with growing a habit. That's the same. It's funny because in our long-term training programs, what I experience is that people, it's part of our program anyway to do a daily meditation practice, but mostly only after this long retreat that we have in the Himalayas in the third year. Many people come back and say, I cannot imagine my life anymore without meditation. Like, I cannot imagine why before I had a resistance. And so literally often it comes with making a deep experience or having a deep experience through meditation is like fuel. It's like fuel into the engine of motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll give it a go. See how it goes.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Right.
Okay, let's go with the next person. Let me see, hopefully I will say this correctly. It looks like Michael, or it could be Michelle, Michael,
yeah.
Michaela, Michael. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Michael.
Oh, I really, it's going to be me. What I wanted to share was tremendous appreciation that I feel for this. When I looked at Transcendence, the Art of Meditation, I mean, I know how important it is, yet I had a lot of resistance. And it's really interesting because this is the deepest connection I've had with that inner spaciousness for, I mean, maybe ever, and especially even through the course, which I have enjoyed to, varying degrees of that, but it was really inspiring, and all of the three aspects that you went through, Thomas, I'm familiar with all of them, and I've been practicing sporadically, but I just feel re-inspired to really commit to these, like to sitting, and I like different aspects about it doesn't matter whether it's a deep, wonderful experience or a lot of stuff comes up. I was aware of all the elements, but you just expressed it so beautifully, and really, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate it.
Thank you. And I think that's one also. That's one part of the meditative practice, is that we have spaces like that where we can share, where we can come up with our resistance, and I think every serious practitioner knows these phases where I feel resistance to sit, I don't feel motivated at all, and then we fall in love again with it, and then we cannot even think to have one day without it, and we want to sit maybe many hours a day. And it's beautiful also to be compassionate with the waves that come. And also one other thing is that when resistance comes up, often it's that we hit in our meditation like an unconscious layer that we are not yet fully aware of, but that something wants to surface, which potentially could surface in the meditation, that we can only suppress if we stop the meditative process. And so that's very important, where actually the shadow work and the meditative practice are linked, that sometimes when I feel blocked, I cannot sit, or I don't want to sit, then sometimes it's good to check in with someone if there is not an underlying layer of stuff surfacing that we can keep away through resisting meditation. So this is what I would ask myself: in the moment I feel that I resist it, I would ask myself, okay, is there something that's surfacing that I'm not aware of? And I would look into the feeling. So I will really tune in with the feeling of not wanting to sit, and then to see if there is something underneath that feeling. So to melt through it and see if that's just a scout of a bigger thing to appear. And so therefore, sometimes the discipline is good, because even if I don't want to sit, if I meditate the feeling of not wanting to sit, often it actually means meditation is like filling an air balloon with air. And imagine you have such a big air balloon that it fits into your room, but eventually one day, if you keep filling it, it will press against the walls of your room because it's so big. But what does it do when it presses against the walls? It creates a pressure. And sometimes when we hit unconscious structures that we are not yet aware of, the meditation might be experienced as a kind of a pressure that I would like to avoid. So I interpret this feeling of pressure as resist, or no, maybe not today, or maybe no, why not to do something else? And anyway, why do I sit so much? What does it give me? But that actually I'm hitting like an unconscious zone. And so I'm a friend of really inquiring the feeling that I don't want to sit. Where does it come from? If there is literally a reason out of my deeper guidance that at the moment in my life that's not really true, or if it's a feeling that I don't want, but it's not coming from my guidance, it's coming from a different place. And I think this inquiry in a continuous meditative practice is very important, because otherwise I might ride the horse of resistance, but it takes me actually away from something significant. And that's, I think, one thing that I would love to add here.
Thank you. And can I say one more thing?
Of course.
The thing that in the triad that was, as I realized that it's really new to me to be present in that spaciousness with someone else, with others. And I kept coming back, reminding myself to come back to that and to be, to feel and to stay in touch with that spaciousness while I was listening. And so I think that there's like what I'm seeing is a pattern of fear of letting go of my mind or myself, and just feeling like I have to kind of, just so much thinking. And so just realizing how important it is for me to remind myself frequently to get in touch with that spaciousness in interpersonal situations.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I think you described something very important, which is I think that's the dawning of a new we. Like that the we space has a shared interior spaciousness, so that actually we, which means we as different people, actually share the intimacy of stillness. We share the intimacy of inner space. And also we share the fact that we all together witness, at least to a certain extent, our ego structure. And that's true when we sit together in a room and meditate. That's true when we sit thousands of miles apart and we meet virtually like now. And that's true when we talk to each other. Or that's even true when we make love. So, however, if this is part of my relationship, or if this is part of my way of being with friends, or with spiritual friends, or or at work, or that we give literally a conscious interior to the virtual space, to the internet. So all these qualities of we spaces can literally have this shared inner space or transpersonal dimension. And so my feeling is that that's the rising of a new sense of we. That the we is held in this transpersonal dimension. And we are all aware of it, that that's so. I think that's an exciting possibility of creating culture.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Even on a very small, little, just even in a triad, it's like a really great unit for that.
Fantastic.
And, so even with people who don't have a conscious affinity, like mental affinity, I can remain in touch with that inner spaciousness, can allow something to come through me and then to be able to share that without having to think about it with the other person. So
beautiful.
That's a lot of what I need to do. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. Yeah. Great.
So Thomas, we have about 15 minutes left. I know you wanted some time for the meditation. Would you like to do one more?
One more, yeah.
Okay. Let's do a question from the video cast. And this is from Terry. And Terry says, I've been meditating for quite a few years using mantras and in some cases chanting. It seems that as of late, with the onset of this course, it's very hard to sit as I'm seeing so many of my shadows. Can you speak to this?
Right, that's understandable. Because like in this course, we are using different, let's say, qualities of awakening at the same time. And we just have like 8 or 9 weeks together, 9 weeks, I think, together. And so we need to put a lot of qualities into that short period. And so once we start like a significant spiritual practice, it will do two things for us. It will pull us into deeper spaciousness and help us to ground ourselves there and shift our center of gravity from the identification with the gross realm into the unformed. And so that's a strong thing. But then what also happens is the evolution of our life energy. And the evolution, and both together might bring up a lot of stuff. So if energy is bound in my unconscious patterns, in my traumas, in my suppressed aspects or disassociated aspects, so the meditative practice inevitably will try to bring this back into our conscious awareness, because spiritual practice is about becoming more aware. And this means also we deepen our awareness into the unconscious part of ourselves. So that's actually a very good thing that happens. For me, I'm happy to hear that, because it means that energy starts moving. So it might be that even more experienced practitioners that are used to being in a deeper meditative state, for sometimes might have phases of disturbances where it seems nearly impossible to sit quietly because so much comes up. But that's in itself, for the spiritual practice, a very good thing, because the mind might jump into, because the mind has a tendency to make everything forever. So when something is happening that is disturbing, it might last forever. And so usually these are phases. Our life is like a wave. there are phases of depth and there are phases of disturbances, and if I can give myself, so I give a chance to my unconscious to surface stuff, and then once I integrate it, I will even find a deeper meditative awareness, because I deepened my whole being. And so even if I have some phases, and many of us know this anyway, if I have some phases of disturbing times or challenging times, often afterwards it follows a deeper awareness. And so a deeper awareness follows this phase. And if we do a practice that is not only pointing towards the absolute, but also towards incarnation or manifestation or living a life in the world, so then we will have to have this stuff come up, and we will have to have the patience and the compassion and the love to respect the time that is more disturbed in order to embrace it. That's where love is actually working, I believe. Love is not working in the areas where we anyway feel loving, because there we feel the effect of love, which means loving. But where we hit the areas that we exclude, that's where love is working. That's where real love actually includes more of life into the unified consciousness. And that's where I think where the effect of love grows, where we expand life really. So for now, that's what I want to say here. And now maybe we use the last 10 minutes to do a light meditation together. We did a presence meditation at the beginning, and we spoke from presence to presence. And now we will do a meditation that you can take with you, and if you feel drawn to it, to do it more often. Important is that once you finish this meditation, you come back to your body, you ground yourself, and then you go to life. Because if not, we might feel a bit spacey. And if you go out to life, it's good to be grounded. And we start also, you can sit back with an upright spine and feel your body for a moment. And then bring your awareness to the highest point of your head. Feel it. And then you turn you look with your inner vision also towards the highest point of your head. So when you can see that point, at least a little bit, when a vague visual impression, and when you can feel it, then you can raise your awareness and go actually above your head, just to feel yourself above your head, and keep raising your center of gravity. And feel and see. It's like a mixture of relaxing above your head and exploring it at the same time. And see if there, not to imagine, but to see if there are if there's a sense of light, like an illumination, some illumination qualities, that it gets a bit brighter, that you see some sort of light. And even if not, continue to lift still your center of gravity higher and higher, and feel higher and higher, and look higher and higher. And keep, whenever you think and you drop back into your body, go back to the highest point of your head, and go up again. With curiosity and ease. If you feel that you do it with too much effort, to relax and go playfully with exploration. See and feel above your head, explore the whole space, relax it as you do it. And to any sensations of light, connect to them, feel the light, stay there for some time. And if you want, you can even allow it to drop back into your body. So you keep your connection to the light, and then you allow it to flow into your body and to let it go through your body. And if there is no sensation of light, just keep exploring the space above your head, and feeling and seeing, and stay open to what you find. And if you still feel the light, keep sensing it and relax your body to allow it in, and feel the quality of light, how it feels, and what's the effect of the light in your own energy field. For some people, it's easier to just sit and relax the brain and concentrate just at the space above the head, and the light comes by itself. And then slowly come back down. Feel how you're coming back down. Feel how you bring your energy back into your body and into your feet. Feel your feet for a moment. And feel the effect of the meditation in your body, in your whole perception. And then slowly come back. Great. So, yes, 2 hours passed quickly. But we also covered like what I think are two important aspects of the meditative practice, the light meditation, that you can of course extend in time. So you take more time and you do it over 20 minutes or 30 minutes. But then always come back and feel the body in order to ground the meditation. And my suggestion up to next week is to, of course, give every day, if you can, at least half an hour where you do either one of those practices, whatever you feel drawn to. And also experiment with the mindfulness and the awareness practice throughout your day, which I'm sure you're doing anyway. And pay attention to at least some minutes of stillness. So maybe you can, up till the next week, have a few minutes of stillness every day, like as we did it here in the call, and experiment with this. What are good options to just keep quiet for a minute, check what we said before, and continue your day. So at least half an hour of meditation if you can, as a sitting practice, and the moment-to-moment practices. Yeah, and use your triad to share about your experiences and to learn. While you share, I learn from you, and while I share, I transmit my meditative experience to you. And then we see each other next week for mystical principles. So thank you very much for your attention and for the shared space, and I hand it back over to Michelle.